Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the best division in the NFL, the AFC North Preview Show. Now, that's probably all the more positives I can say as a Steelers fan about some of these other teams. I'm kidding. I'll be as honest and fair as I can, but I'm not going to be the one handling all these questions and all that because my father, Tony, here, thought it'd be best if he handled the question, which I agree. Let's get my honest opinion and let him do the hosting show. So I'm going to pass you the baton. You take over as the host.
Sounds good. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the AFC North, like Jordan had said. One of the things that I wanted to preface this, it's been interesting. I've been watching a lot of these types of shows and listening to them and seeing a lot of the fan takes. And one thing I'd say is just remember, these are just takes. They haven't even played the season yet. So let us know what we did right. Let us know what we did wrong. I love debating this stuff, but remember, we're not Nostradamus. So we're going to start off with just a general question, Jordan. Is what is one area of weakness for each team moving into this year, do you think? So far as as of today, what's an area of weakness you still think each team has?
Okay, Cleveland, I'm not the biggest fan of their offense line. Jedrick Wills had a very good rookie season in offense tackle, but since then he's struggled with injuries. Overall hasn't been as good as his rookie year, and I don't feel like they've replaced their center they got rid of last year, who I'm blanking on his name off the top of my head, when they got rid of Baker as well. I feel like there's something missing there, and their run game is still very good. Will they miss Kareem Hunt? I'm sure, but they have talent behind Nick Chubb. I almost said Duke Johnson for some reason. And you look at the receiving room, I think it's solid. It's not my favorite in this division, but I don't think it's also the worst in this division. I like Amari Cooper, and I do think that Cedric Tillman will be a big boost for them in the offensive room. Defensively...
So sorry. Are you talking about Froholt? Is that who you thought that they left or they lost?
No, it was their center. He was like head of the PA or something for them.
Okay, they lost him a couple years ago.
No, it was last year because they got rid of him when they got rid of Baker. Because they were both missing. White Teller? Was something. I'm blanking on his off the top of my head. If you're a Browns fan, you know who I'm talking about. If you're an AFC North fan, I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. He was really, really good. Their defense line, I do think they upgraded. They drafted Siaki Ika. They brought in Shelby Harris, and they also brought in Zadarius Smith. Overall, I like that because you're overall padding Myles Garrett. You're not making him Superman that he's got to do every single thing. You're going to help him out a lot this year. Linebacker, it's iffy on me. They have some talent in that room. I like JOK, but there's just something missing there. In their secondary, I think they have high-end talent in their secondary, Denzel Ward, but I'm not the biggest fan of their safety situation, and I think starting corner opposite of Denzel Ward has not been good.
Fair enough. And so what about the Bengals?
There's only one Joe Burrow. You can't clone him if he gets hurt. No. Sure. Now, it's obviously not wide receiver because they probably have the best wide receiver room in the entire NFL. I would probably go more or less secondary because they lost Von Bell. They lost Jesse Bates. They do have Daxton Hill, who I was a fan of in the last year's pre-draft cycle, but he is unproven still. And their corners, I'm not happiest of them. They did lose Eli Apple, which is addition by subtraction, if you ask me. But I think their secondary is their biggest need. And I just would like to see them maybe add a guy like we talked about in the last episode. Budda Baker did demand a trade. I think he'd be a vital piece that the Bengals could get and become just better overall there, especially when you have to go against the Chiefs and Bills. Having a weak secondary is not good.
Fair enough. Now, do you think that bringing in Nick Scott and Sidney Jones will help in those areas of weakness?
That is hard to say because Sidney Jones has had an injury history. It's hard to rely on him staying healthy. And Nick Scott, I just don't know if he's the type of level you need to match up with some of these heavyweights in the AFC.
Fair enough. How about the Baltimore Ravens?
I'm going to say it because there is a couple teams, a couple spots. I still don't like the receiver room. Rashad Bateman has had injury issues. Odell Beckham is at the end of his career pretty much. He's coming off a torn ACL. He did not play at all last year. Can you get that back? And I also just, their secondary as well. And this is something I talked to you a lot last year when we watched them play. It was they didn't feel like the Ravens in the secondary. They felt a little older. Marlon Humphreys played probably the worst year of his career last year. There wasn't something right in that secondary, and they got rid of some guys. They brought on some new ones. It just doesn't feel like Baltimore's defense. And
you notice how I saved your team for last.
Well, we're doing alphabetical with the team name, so yeah, it makes most sense.
So what's the biggest weakness for your beloved?
So I could say the cornerback room, even though I do think it is better. I'm going to say offensive line, and the reason why Broderick Jones is still very unproven. I like the guard they brought in from Philadelphia, and I'm still butcher his name. He's a big Samoan dude, Samalu,
yes.
I think he is good. He does have an injury history, so it's a little hard. Mason Cole, he has played hurt for them. He had issues staying healthy last year. James Daniel, I thought, was a stud for them last year, and you look at the right side. Chucks, I don't think he's the right tackle answer. Maybe you give Dan Moore that spot. I would still say their weakness is offensive line.
Okay, fair enough. So we're going to start off with the Browns for the main question. I'm sorry.
It's Browns.
The main question. Yeah. With the offseason changes the Browns have made, if Watson does not excel early, do the Browns make a change with such a loaded roster?
Are we talking change at quarterback or head coach?
Quarterback.
No, because they have too much money tied for him and they can't move off him. Maybe you could give DTR some reps at the end of the season, but I view that contract like that is like a noose around their team's neck. If Watson does not return to form, that's going to kill the Browns for a long time.
Fair enough. And the Bengals have been in the Super Bowl and a game away the last 2 years. What do they have to do to get the job done and win the Super Bowl?
Keep Joe Burrow upright. You keep Joe Burrow upright, you can win any game. Get that pass rush. I think if they had maybe a bit better pass rush, maybe get another guy in there, or as we said, a safety help with Budda Baker, they're one piece away on defense. They need to find that piece, isolate it, and come trade deadline when you have a team who is not going to be as good, who is going to look to get assets like the Broncos did last year with Bradley Chubb. Look for that team, spot it, and make a trade for a defensive player you can use.
Okay. Having watched Monken coach the offense at Georgia, do you think Lamar's talents will be elevated? What I'm saying is, for his career average, he's 63.7% completion percentage. His best year, he only threw for a little over 3,100 yards. Okay, Stetson Bennett, for the last 2 years, his completion percentages averaged 65%. Last year, of course, he threw for darn near 4,000 yards. So do you think that the new offensive coordinator is going to be able to get Lamar 900 plus more yards to reach that 4,000 yard passing?
That's very interesting because that's a question I don't know the exact answer for it. I'm going to lean to one side, but I'm going to say why I don't know for certain. Todd Monken at Georgia, their offense was good, yes, but Georgia recruited so well that they had the best 11 on the field no matter what side of the football was on the field. They were the best 11. You're not going to have that in the NFL. All these guys are equally talented, minus some quarterback positions. But no one spot is going to be like, well, we have the best 11 by significant margins. You did at Georgia when you played Florida, for example, last year, where Florida struggled to get pressure on Georgia. They struggled to cover Georgia receivers. You're not going to have that when you play against a Cleveland with Myles Garrett, a Pittsburgh with TJ Watt, a Bengals with Sam Hubbard, and all these other AFC teams. So I'm going to lean no because we saw Monken work in the NFL before with Cleveland under Freddie Kitchens. it's hard to tell how much his offense was compared to Freddie Kitchens, but Baker struggled that year because their reads just weren't as easy for him. He had issues picking it up, and we have seen Baker Mayfield can read a defense. The offense just didn't go well with Baker, and that concerns me when I look at Baker to Lamar. Is Lamar probably a better overall player? Yes, but I think Baker has a more accurate football. Lamar, if he doesn't improve his accuracy this year, I don't think he can reach that. No, I do not.
Okay, so no one questions the Steelers' defense, correct? The question has been their offense for the last few years. Will Pickett and the new offensive line raise them from the 26th in points scored across the league? And then if yes, how so? And if no, what's the next answer?
So if no, the answer is you change offense coordinators. I think that's the obvious answer. Maybe you do a little bit more work on the offensive line. But if no, I think Canada's gone. Maybe they bring in someone outside the organization. Maybe they promote someone. I don't know the answer of who would be the next guy there. But if yes, I think it's going to be the offensive line takes a step forward. And I think they focus on the run game more than anything. This team is built similar to how the Titans were with Derrick Henry. You give the ball to Henry, you're going to give the ball to Najee. The offense is going to go where the running game can take it. And they have Jaylen Warren as well. If this running game is successful, this will help Kenny Pickett. He'll help pick apart defenses better, and he can grow. This is only his second year. I'm not expecting a Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen level of play. I think that's foolish. But let's look at it like this. If he can have an easier time reading defenses with the run game going well, the offense will get more points, substantially more points, if the offense slows down for him, if the game slows down for him. Now, the thing I will say positively about Pickett is, look at him in training camp, he's clearly put in the work this past offseason. He got bigger, he got more muscular, I don't know how to put that, but his arm strength is improved when you can watch it. I think a big guy in the offense that can be the cog that no one's going to really know until it starts happening is Calvin Austin. This dude is 5'7". He is shorter than a lot of people. I get that. He's shorter than me, which is saying a lot. But this dude is blazing fast. In the one game that gives you a lot of hope that even though he was hurt the entire season last year and was on IR, the one thing that gives you hope that he can be a stud is go back and watch Memphis versus Cincinnati his college year. That senior year when he played against Sauce Gardner, and Sauce, I would say, is a very, very good corner in the NFL. He went to war with Sauce and won reps. The hand placement was good. He fought well. I would view him more of like a Devonta Smith, that makes sense, just a little bit faster. He's got good hand placement. He can get off guys and can get the deep ball. And if you get the deep ball going, that'll make the offense so much easier for the run game and for the intermediate passing game.
Alrighty, well, those are the questions we have. So do you want to take back over for the rest of the segment?
Sure, I have no problem. Coaching staffs. Ranking these coaching staffs was hard because I kept on looking at a particular staff and I said, if they had this guy, how much higher would they be? But let's start off with number 4. My number 4 are the Cleveland Browns. Kevin Stefanski has not had the production as the other 3 head coaches have had, let alone I questioned some of his coordinators. I'm not the biggest Jim Schwartz fan. I think he's fine. I don't think he's ever going to be the guy to take your defense to the level they will need to win in the AFC here. Who is your 4th ranked?
My 4th ranked coaching staff is the Ravens.
Ooh.
My reasoning is because other than the head coach, you know, there's a lot of questions right now. Their defense struggled last year. Their DC is only in year 2, right? We don't know about Monken. So I'm just not sure as to what this team is going to be. We all know about Harbaugh, but I just that's where I have their coaching staff.
So my 3rd team's the Ravens as well, and this brings me a question I wanted to ask you, and I asked you this before we even recorded. This was a couple days ago. If the Ravens had Wink Martindale, how much higher would you have them ranked? Because I think personally I would have them at 2.
Probably. I would probably have them at 2. So.
And this is not a shot against the Ravens DC, even though I kind of did say they don't feel like the Ravens on defense anymore, which I do think is accurate. He is growing. He is transitioning from the college to NFL level. Maybe this year they pop. Maybe they do something good. Or maybe it's time to move on. But who is your third team?
My third team is the Browns.
So we just swapped 3 and 4.
Yes. Now, so here's the thing. I like the Browns coaching tree basically from top to bottom. Where the only reason what gives them the nod, as far as I'm concerned, is that Mike has actually won the big event. So yeah, or I would if Stefanski had made deep playoff pushes or whatever else, I actually might put them above the Steelers right now. I'm not a huge fan of Canada, that. But right now, you got to give it to the guy that's actually won a Super Bowl as well.
So my second team is the Bengals, and I do have the Steelers. Maybe I'm biased here, but I'll talk about the Steelers in a second. I look at the Bengals, and I just think, I don't know if they're a great staff, but they're a good staff. I was very anti the Zach Taylor hire when it was made. I was like, oh, another one of Sean McVay's buddies. Can't wait to see how this works out. It's worked out pretty well, I would say. Is some of that having Joe Burrow? I'm sure it is, but Zach Taylor has held his own. He has made good challenges. He has used timeouts very well. And their offensive staff is good. Their defensive staff is good. And I think their defensive coordinator, and I'm blanking on his name off the top of my head. If you have it written down, that would help. I think he is a future head coaching candidate. I think he is. I think he's got potential. I think you look at how they played the Bills, how they played the Chiefs. I think he's done very well, and I do believe he's earned himself a look as head coach. And as you said, your 2 was the Steelers, correct?
Yes.
So, my 1 is the Steelers, and I understand your critique of Matt Canada. He has not proven himself at the NFL level, but I'm going to focus on, I don't think there is a staff with better positional coaches on the defense side of football than the Steelers. I think Carl Dunbar is maybe the best D-line coach of the past 10, 20 years when it comes to working with D-linemen. And I think you can look at his history since he's been hired there, the defensive lineman they've gone in and lost. He was one of the guys who first worked Javon Hargraves when he entered the NFL. Hargraves has now made himself a household name going to the Eagles and 49ers, and he was still really good at Pittsburgh. They have depth there that he's worked with that's improved. Their linebacker coach, Aaron Curry, I know your favorite Seahawks draft pick of all time. I think he's done very well so far with coming in there, and he did very good work with Seattle last year. And their offensive line coach, I think, is good. The QB coach, Mike Sullivan, not to get confused with Pittsburgh Penguins head coach Mike Sullivan, has done good work with the quarterbacks, most notably spending practically his entire career with Eli Manning, winning a couple Super Bowls. I think this team has the right pieces, and if Matt Canada is not the answer, I think you move off him earlier in the season and you promote someone in-house, because I think the staff is overall very good to the point you shouldn't let the offense coordinator hold it down. But I'd also argue the offense coordinator hasn't had a legitimate shot to get his offense going well with how poor the offense line play has been in recent years.
Well, I'll contend, and we've had this argument numerous times, just because the offensive line isn't what you want, if you're a good offensive coordinator, you can adjust to that. He doesn't make adjustments to that. He just tries to run the same things over and over again.
But we even saw the Chiefs-Bucks Super Bowl, and you've made this argument that it didn't matter who played quarterback for the Bucks, they would have won. The Chiefs' offensive line was so bad, and Andy Reid's one of the best play callers of all time. The Bucks strangled them out because their offensive line was subpar.
Well, their offensive line was decimated. There's a difference. The Steelers' offensive line is just not built for what they were trying to run. 2 different things.
Yeah. Your 1, though, the Bengals?
Yeah. I would, and here's the reason why. Head coaches, he actually would be, Zach Taylor would be my 4th rated head coach in this division. Yes.
I'd have him 3rd.
I like Stefanski more than I like him, but I like, you want to talk about somebody that I think should be a head coach. I would venture to say Anarumo is the guy.
Is that their DC?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was trying to think of his name. I couldn't think of it.
Sorry.
Yeah, I asked and you didn't help. Jerk. But go on.
So, I think that staff, top to bottom, is solid. They've got a lot of guys, and personally, I think that he's the next rising uh, coach to get a head coaching experience or a head coaching job.
Do you think that it's going to be a little harder for him though, because the Bengals? It's fair to say the Bengals don't have the best defense in this division. Is it fair to say it'll be harder for him to get it because of that? Because they don't have necessarily the elite defense to kind of sway an owner from picking an offense guy over him.
So the one thing I'll say about that is their defense was rated top 10 last year.
No, but I'm trying to say is like defensive coaches we see fewer and fewer are getting jobs. Like D'Amico Ryans. Was there another defensive man that got a head coaching job last year besides D'Amico?
Yes, from Philadelphia.
Philadelphia, right. Gannon. Those had elite talent all over the field, and that helped kind of just dominate games for them. With the Bengals not having as elite talent, not saying they don't have good talent, but San Fran and Philly, their starters are on a different level than pretty much every other team. Do you view it as harder for him to get a job when he doesn't have that over, say, a Ben Johnson Detroit?
Not sure. Like I said, I think he has done more with less than anybody else, and I like him, and I think he's going to be.
That's fair, and you can make the argument that doing more with less is better than doing more with elite.
Exactly.
Okay, well, now it's time to get in draft rankings, and I already know, because we talked about this a bit yesterday, our disagreement, so we're pretty much going to be swapped. And it's not because we overall think either of these two classes are great. It was just which class do we have rated lower. Mine's the Browns at 4. I think Cedric Tillman's a stud. Then after that, I really didn't care for much of their other class. DeJuan Jones is interesting. He's an interesting prospect. But there are concerns with him. There are concerns about him with his weight. There are concerns about him with his body mass and staying healthy long term. I think he's got some talent. If the Browns can get him on the right regiment, if they can get him working right, get the right staff in there motivating him, I think this dude could be a offense tackle for them in the future that can develop and grow with the team. But who is your number 4?
My number 4 is Baltimore, and along those same lines as what you're going for. So Zay Flowers, yes. We all think that he can be magical, right? Trenton Simpson, they haven't had good luck doing linebackers recently, and I think they're just reaching for something that they don't really get. Tavarius Robinson, outside linebacker, actually I kind of like him, and I really like Kyu Blue Kelly. Voorhees, I think, could be the steal in the draft for them. After everything's all said and done, simply because he's, he would have been in probably a second round pick the way this draft went, if it wasn't for, him getting hurt the way he did. So, I think he's a steal, but I just, like I said, their depth, what they got, and everything else, no, I just think they're 4th in the division.
So I'm going to ask you this. As you said, they haven't had the best luck with the linebacker position. Do you view taking Trenton Simpson, a guy from Clemson, if we've been very critical of the Clemson defense coordinator and how they've structured their defense, do you view taking him in the 3rd round worth the risk in case he is better under a different DC, a DC that you feel can work with him better than the one at Clemson?
Absolutely. I totally do. And I'm not saying that Simpson isn't going to be a good linebacker. I think that he will be. I think that the way they're drafting their linebackers and what they're asking them to do doesn't fit.
With what you're saying is Patrick Queen has not been the Baltimore Raven linebacker that they need.
No, he hasn't been.
Okay. My 3 is the Ravens, and this is strictly because I like taking the shot on Simpson, even though I think you like Simpson more than I do. I got the pick. I thought it made sense. The reason why I have them above Cleveland is Andrew Voorhees. I liked Voorhees a lot. I liked his film. If he didn't get hurt, I agree he would have been a day 2 pick at minimum. But getting him, he is hurt. I believe he is out for this entire season, if I'm correct.
Well, I mean, we think so, but you know how that works. We never know.
Medical science is way beyond my brain. But I think he can be a guy that can bring some stability to the offensive line. And I do question the offensive line. I think it's a very good pick. And I am a much bigger Zay Flowers fan than you. I'm one of the bigger Zay Flowers fans from this past draft cycle. I thought he was the best wide receiver in this class. I don't know how well he's going to fit in the Ravens offense, but I overall do like his talent. I think it was a smart pick. Now it's your number 3, and I'm assuming that is Cleveland Browns.
Oh, sorry about that. So my 3rd overall for draft is the Browns, yes. And along the same ways, I like the Cedric Tillman pick. I think that's going to work. I really like the Siaki Ika pick as well. DeJuan Jones, who knows what is going to happen with him. But in the 4th round, yeah, take a flyer on him. I like Isaiah McGuire more than you do. And I think in that system, he can actually work. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, one of my favorite not day 1 quarterbacks in this draft class. I think he's got some potential to be something special in the long run. And then getting Luke Whippler in the 6th round, or Whippler, however you want to pronounce his name, I think that was good. And their offensive line coach is amazing. So I think they'll be able to do something with him. And he is one of the best pulling centers in this draft class, which let's see, what do? They do a lot of pulling. So
Yep. And number 2 for me in my draft class are the Bengals. And with what I have said, and I'm going to beat up the Clemson DC more, Myles Murphy should have been a top 10 pick realistically. When you watch his 2021 film, he was a stud. His 2022 film, very much not. And I look at this is a smart pick by the Bengals. This could be that defensive piece that I said they need, because I think he's got the talent. I think he can be a stud. He needs to be in the right coach. And as we've just said, the Bengals DC has been very good with less. This is a talent you're getting in, a former 5-star recruit, uber talented, can get to the quarterback. This is a ball of clay that you can mold and become a monster. DJ Turner, I'm going to leave him more to you because I remember you like him more than me. Jordan Battle, a safety. They had a need safety. I like the pick. I think I should just let you handle Charlie Jones entirely.
Ironically, I'm not a huge DJ Turner fan.
I thought you were. My bad. I thought you were.
I thought he was too handsy. And so speaking of Charlie Jones used and abused him last year. So I'm not the hugest DJ Turner guy. I love Jordan Battle. I think that he's going to be good for them. Charlie Jones I call him a poor man's Cooper Kupp. I'm sorry, that kid is going to light the world on fire. I just think that he is, he catches everything his way, and he has got moves on moves.
Was he drafted? Was he drafted for them to move off Tyler Boyd, you think? To save some money to pay T. Higgins and Jamar?
Well, yeah. I mean, that only makes sense. You're going to have to, because the contract for Higgins is going to be huge, and the contract for Chase is going to be ugly. And there's this guy, he plays quarterback in Cincinnati. He's going to break the bank. So,
yeah. Just give him a stake in the franchise at that point. Save yourself some money.
Pretty much. There's been talk about that, but I guess that you bring that up. I guess currently it's not. You can't do it because of the collective bargaining agreement. So
I don't think an active player can have it, if I'm correct.
Exactly. So that would have to change. To be able to make that work.
Yep. And this is maybe my favorite pick, and I think you're about to go here, but I kind of want to talk about this. Chase Brown from Illinois.
Yes.
I love this pick. I think he'll be a great running back for them. I think he'll take some Mixon opportunities this year, and I think eventually you're going to see the Bengals be like, oh, let's save money. Bye, Mixon. Hi, Chase.
I think this is Joe Mixon's last year in Cincinnati.
I'd agree with you. Do you think by the end of the season, do you think Chase Brown's going to be the starter? The more the bell cow would be more accurate.
No, I don't. Unless he proves completely explosive. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because Mixon's been magical for the last couple of years for them. And if their plan is to move off him, then you maximize his touches this year so that you keep the guy that you're planning to replace him next year fresh.
That's fair. We'll be talking about him in a second for me. But overall, what do you think of this draft class? Is it the draft class you feel can possibly have them go back to Super Bowl and get over the hump and win it?
Yes, I do. I really do. I think that their draft class makes them more dangerous than prior to the draft class. And quite frankly, the only reason why they're second and the Steelers are first is because of one of the Steelers' day two picks. Other than that, I would have put Cincinnati first.
Yep. So, if any Steelers fans who are listening to this, who follow me on Twitter, all that, I think you all know I was not the biggest Broderick Jones fan coming up to the draft. I'm not jumping on the Broderick bandwagon yet. I need to see production. That being said, I got the pick. You need an offense tackle. You need a left tackle to protect Kenny Pickett's blind spot for the future. I disagreed on the player. I understood the pick. Now, the second round is when we get into the stuff I really like. Joey Porter Jr. in the second round. If I told you during the pre-draft process that Joey Porter Jr. would have been a Steeler, you would assume he would have been pick 17, correct?
Absolutely. In fact, he was mocked to Pittsburgh at 17 so many times. I can't even. That was I would say, the highest percentage of players mocked to Pittsburgh at 17 was Porter.
Do you remember what I said when we were leaving the draft party after the draft and the Steelers had that pick?
No, I do not.
I said the Steelers can either trade it and get some more picks, get some more depth later on, or they can take Joey Porter Jr. and just be like, thanks for the extra first-round pick, Chicago.
Yeah, well, we'll see how he plays, but as of right now...
He's been a stud in camp, but you can take that with a grain of salt.
Absolutely.
Now, here's when we get to my favorite pick. This is a guy I was pining for the Steelers to draft. I think I started back in early March or something.
You started following Benton after I started talking about him.
Well, after I heard him and I watched him, and this was the guy I wanted the Steelers to draft, they could have picked him the first round. I would have been fine. Keanu Benton is a stud. He is going to come in there. He is going to work with Cam Hayward. He's going to be on that line with Alex Highsmith, Cam Hayward, TJ Watt. You know who's not going to get the extra look? Keanu Benton. He's going to have free reign because you're going to have to pay attention to TJ. You got to pay attention to Cam Hayward. You got to pay attention to Alex Highsmith. Keanu Benton's going to eat, and it's going to be very dangerous watching him develop. And, you know, Steelers have a good history of drafting pass rushers from Wisconsin.
I mean, I guess if you think so.
Yeah. Yeah, but this is the guy that you had them over Cincinnati, correct?
Yes. Benton was a guy that, to be quite honest, I thought could have and should have gone in the first round. I think that he was not played to his best position in Wisconsin, but he showed just how dynamic he was. And I just think that he is going to be an absolute wrecking ball.
So here's something, and I considered it up to the draft point. Who did you like better, Keanu Benton or Kalijah Kancey? Because they were neck and neck in my mind.
Oh, I liked Benton better.
I think I give a slight edge to Benton, but I did like Kancey's pass rushing ability.
So here's my issue is, as much as I like Yancey, and when we talked about the South, I actually have him for the Defensive Rookie of the Year. He got so much hype just because of where he went to college and his numbers. Now, he was really good in college as well, but I think some of that hype was simply because of that. Benton is a big man. When he gets his hands on you, you're going to know it.
Yeah.
And he doesn't shy away from that physicality.
No, he was very solid in the run game as well. Like, Wisconsin didn't have a lot of players you watched last year and say they will be NFL starters. He was definitely one of them. Now, time for a pick I liked a lot more than you. Darnell Washington. And Washington, he was someone who is, I would quite frankly say, raw at the tight end position. He didn't get a lot of playing time at Georgia. When he did get the ball in his hands, he was hard to take down, but look at him. He's a freak. I think this is more of a pick that makes me happy for the run game. I think he'll be very important in running the football, getting Najee Harris and Jalen Warren some good lanes. I think you'll see a lot of two tight end sets, and I'm very excited to see with what they utilize him in the regular season. I think preseason we'll see more of him. In the regular season, I don't know if I can make the argument for him to get more playing time over Gentry year one, but I could see them bring him in for blocking sets because the one thing he did very well at college, and it was very clear that can probably translate to the NFL, is he was a monster blocker. The receiving game, I don't know of yet, but at the very least, you got a blocking tight end in the third round. This is a guy worthy of taking a chance on for day 3. Late day 3 as well.
So I think what kind of rubbed me the wrong way on him was just the fact that everybody was talking about him as a first round talent. And I didn't see it. When I watched him play, his route running isn't the greatest. He was a good blocker, but the only reason why he was out, he was catching passes was because he was bigger than everybody else. And the problem is when you get to the NFL, you're not always going to be bigger, but those guys know how to play defense better as well. So I just wasn't as high on him as a lot of other people were. There are some tight ends that I was super high on, and we've talked about them. In the third round, why not take a flyer on him? Because if nothing else, you can use him as a blocker, and just that'll be what he completely is, and that's fine.
There is one play with him that I'm irrationally excited about. I want to see in the red zone, I want to see them give him an end around. I don't know. It's either going to go great or it's going to go horrible. There's going to be no in between.
I don't know if that's a good idea, though, because he's already got knee problems. Somebody is going to just destroy his knees to get him down.
Which is true, and we don't want to see anyone get hurt, obviously. And Nick Herbig. Now, this is another guy you were higher on than me. And it's very interesting. I don't know if you saw on the Steelers website, because when I was looking just to write down the positions, did you see on the Steelers website when they drafted him with what position they had him listed at?
Linebacker.
Correct. Which is interesting because he didn't play much linebacker at college, but he did show some traits I do think he can play at the NFL level.
Well, if you remember when we were talking about him previous to the draft, I was like, I don't like him as an edge rusher. I think that his body type, his speed, I think he could be a really good linebacker in the NFL. And the fact that Linebacker University drafted him to be a linebacker just makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. So,
is there a better team to draft you as a developmental linebacker than the Steelers with how they just turn guys out?
No, I don't think so.
Because like they seem to take these guys, and maybe they don't become the best players, but they get second contracts in the NFL, which is rare for a lot of players. It's very rare. Now, the next pick, it's a little hard to talk about because obviously what happened, suffering an injury, being put on IR, and this was always a risk when it came to Corey Trice. Very talented, showed a lot of promise at Purdue. The question is, can he stay healthy? And it already looks like that's going to be an issue for him.
Well, we already knew he had problems at the draft, and that's one of the reasons why he fell so much. You and I had him actually projected in one of our conversations as going in as high as the third round. But Boy, I called that one wrong.
But we didn't know how severe his body was.
No. And now the question is, will he be able to even get back at all? And it's so tragic, but
I hope he does, not even as a Steelers fan, but as a human being. I cannot imagine how hard it is to work for this your whole life and your body just breaks down.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when you're on the cusp.
Yeah.
Right there.
I hope he gets a shot. From everything I've read is that he is going to be with the team. He is still working with them in the DB room and all that. Maybe if this doesn't work, Pittsburgh and Mike Tomlin are notable for hiring players to be coaches. Maybe there's a path there for him.
Wishing him all the best.
Same. Now, the last pick, and this is a guy I did not watch much of. I don't know if you watch much of him, Spencer Anderson.
No, not particularly. So,
from with what I know, big athletic guard, which kind of fits the Steelers draft. Was they want to be bigger, they want to be more athletic. Now it's time for Offense Rookie of the Year. Who is your Offense Rookie of the Year?
My Offensive Rookie of the Year is Zay Flowers. And here's the thing. It was a toss-up between him and Cedric Tillman. And I actually think Cedric Tillman is going to have better numbers receiving, probably even more touchdowns. Where I think that Zay is going to take this category is because I think that he's going to be also in the return game, and he's explosive. We've seen him just make magic on returns, and so I think he's going to get a couple there, and that's why I would say he's going to be he's gonna win this category.
So yesterday I talked to you. I had Cedric Tillman picked out, and as the day went on, I switched. I admit it. I switched.
Did you really?
I switched. I was gun-ho on Cedric, but I just kept on. The scene in my back of my head just said, take Chase Brown. Take Chase Brown. So I'm taking...
you did. You took Chase instead. I thought you would switch to Zay, but you took Chase.
I'm taking Chase Brown.
No, I think he can have an amazing year. I just, like I said, I think they're going to still lean on,
Mixon.
Lean the other way. Mixon for this year. I mean, why not ride it as long as you can? So
Chase Brown looked like to me like the guy who, as soon as he gets on the field, it's going to be hard to get him off. And I think Cincinnati's going to have that issue. I thought he was very good in pass protection at Illinois, which is very good for a young running back. I think he can be good. I think they'll use him in the pass game. I think they'll use him in the running game. And I think he'll get a lot of red zone carries because he is very powerful when he runs. He'll be good down there. He can get more touchdowns. Now, as you said, Cedric Tillman was very tempting. I had to struggle on this because if you told me Cedric Tillman became the Browns' number one wide receiver within 2 years, I would not be shocked. I think he's a stud, but I'm going to go with the running back. I think he's going to get more touchdowns this year.
Just remember, last year, the running back that got more touchdowns did not win Rookie of the Year for the league.
Yes, but he also didn't play in we're not talking about New York media market.
True, just saying. That's not a bitter Seattle Seahawks fan.
No, not at all. Not at all. Defensive Rookie of the Year. I'm pretty sure we had the same guy. I have Keanu Benton. We already talked about him plenty. And I could talk about him longer, but
we are both Keanu Benton homers. So
I will say this. I did consider Murphy for the Bengals because I do think he has the talent. But I just looked at it. I think Benton's going to get more reps with Larry Ogunbowale above him instead of the guys Cincinnati has above Miles Murphy.
Well, it's interesting that you actually bring up Miles Murphy because I think that he could definitely being put right beside DJ Reader. I think that I think that he can definitely make some splash plays this year, and because of that, he'll probably have more splash plays, sacks, and things. It's just a matter of overall dominance.
Yeah, and Murphy is someone, if you can tell, we really liked Murphy. He was the Clemson guy I liked the most, And I do hope that the right defensive coach can actually get him to his talent, because watching his film last year at Clemson was infuriating.
Well, Lou is a boss, so especially at the defensive line, guys.
So my best offseason addition, and I'm just gonna explain this real quick because I debated on this for a bit. I have Orlando Brown, and you're asking, and no, it's not Orlando Bloom, the Pirates of the Caribbean. Anyone who gets that reference, check out my Bears Panthers video with the pick happen.
I forgot that.
I did not. I picked Brown because I view this as just important of keeping Joe Burrow healthy. What's the best way for the Bengals to get back to Super Bowl? Joe Burrow has a clean pocket. Pay a left tackle. Get a left tackle, bring him in, stabilize that position. That's how I view it.
There's nothing wrong with that. My best offseason game is Jim Schwartz. I like him as a DC, and I think that he is going to have that defense aggressive. And it's not just bringing in him. It's who else they brought in to do that. We already talked about Siaki Ika. I think, having him in the center of that line, but Isaiah McGuire, like I told you earlier, I think he's going to have some. Bringing in Dalvin Tomlinson. They brought in Juan Thornhill from KC. They brought in Oronku from Houston, and Tristan Hill from Arizona. And I just think that they're going to be going for,
Did you say it's Darius Smith?
No, I did not.
It's Darius Smith as well, just to help you.
Thank you. No, I didn't. I did not mention him. I don't know how I missed that, but I just think that defensive line is going to be pretty darn amazing. So, and Schwartz is going to help them be that way. So they had a pretty decent defense last year, but when you are going up against the likes of Baltimore with the running game, because that's where Cleveland struggled last year, was against the run, and you're going up against, Cincinnati with every part of their offense. And Pittsburgh is going to be running the ball a lot more this year. They need to stiffen that up, and
oh wow,
coach is going to help them do it.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that. I'm lower on Schwartz than you are, but hey, we'll see. Now, Coach of the Year. This was something I also debated on for a bit. This was very hard because I wanted to give it to Mike Tomlin because I'm like, if I do see the Steelers being as I think they will be this year, I think he has a shot to win it. But I also view the Bengals as a team that can possibly beat KC and be that 1 seed. And if you can take that 1 seed away from Patrick Mahomes, I got to give it to you. So my Coach of the Year is Zach Taylor.
I get that, and that's tough for you to say, simply because, for one thing, you don't really like Zach Taylor. So he is my Coach of the Year, and if you remember, I put him as 4th. So
it's hard to argue with the results they have gotten, and look at that team. That if there's a team that can fight, there are very few teams I think that can beat Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs. I can count them on one hand. Bills, Jaguars, Chargers, Bengals. Now, those are only AFC teams. If the Chiefs stay healthy, those are the only 4 teams I could see beating the Chiefs. And if you're one of them, and I think highly of the Chiefs, I got to give it to you. MVP, this was beyond chalk. Joe Burrow. He's the best quarterback in the AFC North. One of the best quarterbacks in the NFL in general.
Yeah, sorry. That's who I pick as well.
It's boring, but sometimes smart is boring.
So, here's the thing. Remove Joe Burrow from the conversation.
Did you what?
Who is going to be the MVP?
TJ Watt.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't hear what you had said. That's probably a good second pick. I would pick Lamar simply because if he gets 3,500 yards and still runs for 600 to 700 yards, I'd say that, and I think that's where he'll be at. I don't think he's going to get to 4,000, but I'd say that because of his running as well, that'd be an MVP.
My concern with Lamar and picking him is I don't trust him to stay healthy by the end of the season.
And when was the last time that Lamar had a complete season?
I want to say it was his MVP season, and I'm not counting him not playing the last game because they locked up the division. That's fine, whatever. Because he missed the games last year.
And the year before.
Yeah, I don't trust his health enough for me to say it.
No, that's very fair.
So, yeah, the last time he had a full season was 2019. He didn't get hurt in 2020, but if you remember, he had COVID, which delayed the Steelers game, and he was unable to play in that game.
Yes.
And that whole hoopla, that was annoying. But that's overall my thought, and I do think when you look at the Steelers, and when TJ Watt is on the field and playing healthy, they are so much a better team. Just look at the record last year when he wasn't there versus when he was there. The defense was so much better. The points were so much better. The offense was better because the offense got the ball back faster. It's just insane what that dude can bring to a team.
Oh, absolutely. He's dynamic.
But I just want to point out, Mr. Defense picked the quarterback.
Very true. I'm guilty as charged.
Yeah.
So, what's your division order?
So, I have two playoff teams in this division. I'm just going to get that out of the way first. Fourth place, I have the Browns. Until I see it with Deshaun Watson, I'm not going to believe it. He was so bad last year that I am very, very worried about Kevin Stefanski keeping his job midway through the season. Third is the Ravens. As I've said, I cannot trust Lamar staying healthy. That is a big concern for me. Tyler Huntley, I think, is fine, but we also don't know what this offense is going to look like. We don't know how this offense line is going to be. I don't have much faith in that secondary and the defense, and if they don't get back to Baltimore Ravens football on defense, I'm concerned for that team overall. Second, I have the Steelers. Maybe I'm a homer. Fine, I'll take it. I think this team can get to the playoffs. I think their young guys can take a step forward. But most importantly, if that defense stays healthy, they are a destroyer of worlds. And first, Bengals. Joe Burrow, that's my argument there.
So we have one position, one pole position that we agree on, and that is the Bengals overall. So I have the Steelers in last. And the reason why is because I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I am not a believer in Canada, and so until I'm proven wrong, that's where they're at. Do I think that they're going to have a winning record? Absolutely, because it's Mike Tomlin. And when was the last time he had a losing record? Oh, wait, no, never.
Here's a question: could Mike Tomlin take a college team and have them win one game in an NFL season? Just win one game.
No, I don't think so.
I don't know. He might find a way.
In third, I have the Browns. And the Browns roster is loaded all over the place. The one position that we're kind of in question about right now is Deshaun Watson. I personally think that he'll be better, but I put them in the third position because it's not proven yet. I have the Ravens in second. The Ravens, even without Lamar last year, were winning games. Even though their defense was not as Raven-esque as we had spoken about, they were still winning games. And so I'm going to give them that until somebody knocks them off. And then the Bengals. Now, here's the caveat to all of that. With the exception of the Bengals, the Ravens, the Browns, the Steelers, as far as I'm concerned, any of them can be the second place in that division. Any of them can be third in that division, and any of them can be fourth in that division. I think those three teams are going to be in a race for second, just like I think the Panthers, the Saints, and the Falcons are all going to be vying for first in their division.
So you're telling me AFC North football is going to be physical, down to the wire, and you're going to be beat up after the games?
I'm going to say flip a coin for 2, 3, and 4. I just think that the Bengals are the class of the division. That being said, the Bengals almost lost to the Ravens last year in the playoffs without Lamar, right? I do believe the Steelers beat the Bengals last year.
No one in this division last year swept their opponent. Everyone had a 3-3 record.
So, So all I'm going to say is I just truly think that this division is one of those divisions where anything goes. And that's one of the reasons why it's such a great division to watch, right? Because, one, it's good football. And 2, you don't know what's going to happen.
So anyone who's not an AFC North fan, this year, I want you to keep track of the teams the week after they play AFC North team. They're beat up. Like, they can sometimes win. They struggle in the first half of their games after an AFC North matchup. And this is something I've noticed for years. It's less so when Cleveland had Hugh Jackson. I always call him Hugh Jackman for some reason. It was a little bit less noticeable there. But these teams beat up their opponents. But that's going to wrap us up for this week. Next week, and this is a double upload week, as we are recording this, the NFC West is going up. This is going up Friday. Got a lot of football to talk about, and next week we might be doing a double upload, depends on the scheduling, but we will be covering the AFC East. And if possible double upload, AFC South next week as well. So stay tuned and enjoy, everyone.